Good morning, my dear police friends and also advocates. Recently, an interview was given by the very famous Padma Bhushan awardee, retired DG of Police, Sri Julio Ribero, who is aged about 19 years, and he slammed the present day police generation. Previously, about 15 days back itself, he has written an open letter to his junior IPS officers. And of course, he said, I do not intend to give any advice to you also, but still I am opening up my mind, he said, because the days have changed, the politics have changed, because at the time of their working, their functioning, of course, he joined the police department in the year 1953 as a directly recruited IPS officer. Right? Of course, the political scenario was totally different. Of course, at that time, the politicians, they used to frame policies for the welfare of the public, and of course, they used to interfere only when the public justice is denied. Normally, they would not have interfered with the police administration. Right? But now, he says, with his experience, of course, you may be knowing, he worked as the Commissioner of Police, Mumbai. At that time it was Bombay. I think from 1982 to 86 or so, he worked as the Commissioner, and then he worked as the DGP of Punjab State. At that time, Babbar Khalsa or Khalistan movement was its peak, and Madam Kiran Bedi and this man actually they have crushed the incident to the roots. Otherwise, it was a very serious issue. People used to walk hundreds of miles and coming to Punjab, Amritsar, other places claiming Babbar Khalsa or that is Khalistan. It was a very famous movement called as Khalistan movement. He controlled the same. Right? Very powerful man. And he has written autobiography, bullet for bullet, my life. His life is like that. And at that time, when I was SI, Tangutur, I was SI, Mongol one down. He has written a beautiful book, Commissioner's Cowboys. With that only, the so-called Commissioner's task force has come into existence. He has to send his own people to deal with the incidents. Of course. So whatever nowadays he is lamenting that definitely there is a decrease in the political thing and increase in the interference also. But he says the times have changed, and of course the politicians they are a different breed. But now still he says, please remember the values of honesty. Please remember the values of honesty and also the compassion to the poor people, and earning, Y-E-A-R-N-I-N-G, not earning for the so-called law or justice, earning for justice and truth. And also, we have to the commitment to the law and constitution. After all, according to the constitution we are working, and these things definitely they are always constant, they will not change. Therefore, they will hold the first spot on your moral eye, and you should respect them. That means honesty, integrity, and work according to the constitutional law should be like that. What he says is, please follow the rule of law. Right? This is his initial note. Then he started his career. Of course, he has stated so many things. When he was Bombay's municipal commissioner, he said that he has instructed all these people, don't take any hafta money, any mammals. And of course, and he said there should be no rowdies or no criminals in our area. And the police inspector, you should be the first rowdy. That's all, no others. Of course, being encouraged by his speeches, one of the inspectors, he has staged an encounter where a criminal was killed, and he said, he visited the spot and he said, no, my dear friend, don't become a judge, don't become a prosecutor. Your duty is bring him before the justice. If you are competent, if you are able to prove the case, definitely the court is there, it will give death penalty. Why should you award him death penalty? And the inspector said, sir, you said there should be no criminals and I should be the only criminal. I told you in a good way, but I did not want you to kill the people, he said. Of course, at the time, generation was like that only. They did not go for the so-called fake or false encounters. Of course, Bombay was very notorious by that time, and he was the person who controlled the same. Right? So now he has once again laid emphasis on two issues. Number one, the incident which shook the entire nation in the Thuthukudi or Sattankulam police station, where Jairaj and his son Phoenix, both of them, they were running a mobile shop. Since they did not close the shop by the fixed time of 9 p.m. and there was a delay of 15 minutes, and when they asked the police, when they questioned the police, they took him to the police station, they tortured both of them. Ultimately, it resulted in the death and death in police custody. What is that police gain with this? He has put a question. And second is because Dubey. So, who had made him grown up to such an extent? See, because Dubey's career, no doubt, because Dubey is an operational gang. So certain people, he did not directly comment on Vikas Dubey, but he said, you see, the criminals, they are thinking in Rambo style. They are actually making the police officers ambush. They are ambushing the police officer, they are killing them, they are taking the law into their house and they are snatching away the weapons from the police. How can we allow them? You should not pamper these people. And in this case she said, no politician would say, so allow a criminal to operate. Normally, he will ask you, please see something, be something cool towards him, that's all. Or give him bail, that's all. But they will not ask you to operate, ask the criminal to operate. Of course, nowadays, he may not be, of course, he is 91 years, he knows the police. But we know the nexus between the police, the police, politician, and of course, others, I do not want to tell anything. So, because the incident also, he says that actually his elimination, actually it is usurped or it has stopped the role of judiciary. So here what he says is now the police have become number one, police, number two, the prosecutor, number three, the judge itself. All these things, all the roles were played by the police, which is not at all correct. Because doctrine of separation of powers, everybody has got his specific role to play. Your police officer, your role is to bring the criminal to justice. The judiciary, they will decide the case and definitely they will, that means definitely they will give the proper judgment. Otherwise what becomes? It becomes a police state. Friends, do you want to become a police state? Now already we came from, because of the Britishers, ours was ensured to be a police state. Now it has become a welfare state. Once again, you are getting back to police state. Now, as regards the present generation of inquiry and accountability also he has stated. He is running a, that is NGO, non-governmental organization. It is called Public Concern for Governance Trust. So he has appointed certain interns and youngsters. There is a public complaints authority in Mumbai city, right? It is headed by a retired judge, an IPS officer, and also a public spirited member. But the interns told him, the youngsters, they told him that for the past 3 months, the judge never appeared in the meeting. Number two, the IPS officer who comes, he actually is throwing rough shots and he is actually literally abusing the complaints. And the funny part is the member, he never spoke a word. He never spoke a word with the authority. Simply, he is sitting like a dumb member. So, if such is the case, how people will gain confidence? So, what is the use of the Police Act? He is also. Now, he is ultimately asking us to have introspection, and actually once again he has thought about the transfers, training, all these things he has discussed. As regards transfer also, he has stated that Supreme Court in the famous case of Prakash Singh versus Union of India in 2006, they stated that there should be a minimum 2 years tenure for the higher cadre. So there should be a selection committee, a board should be constituted for giving promotions and all these things. Of course, the politicians are either circumventing or using it for their own purpose. Anyway, the situation is bad nowadays as per him. And the last advice, so he says the only solution is we will not allow the police don't behave like puppets in the hands of the politicians, right? Whatever they can do, what they can do, after all, they can get you transferred out. Instead of surrendering to them, it is a major option than to the creation of otherwise what happens, some more because the basic common sense. Okay, get a transfer, you can work anywhere in India. For that matter, if it is a state officer, they can work anywhere in the state. So till their votes are, the politicians also normally, they will not interfere if you are honest, if you are upright. They will take advantage when you are bowing to their actually wishes, or when they are surrendering to them, or when you are going to them and requesting for a transfer or a posting like that, right? Ultimately he says, you can't be a police, you can't be a police, you can't be a prosecutor, and you can't be a judge, and you can't be an executor also, because you can kill him. So the middle class, of course, they will support shortcuts, as the judicial system has gone off the rail, off the road, because delay on the part of judicial system. So this letter creates senses or awareness among the police officers. Please read the letter or hear the video once or twice and change the present scenario, and don't become a puppets to the hands of police, and there should be no nexus between the police and politicians. With this small advice, as a retired police officer, of course I have not told this, this is from the words of the famous, very celebrated retired DGP Sri Julio Ribero, and of course I know that he worked as an ambassador to Romania, some other country. He is an nonagenarian, that means his age now 91 years. Anyway, if you find time, please read his interview also. Thank you very much.